GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.
Experience the next level of imaging with Vivo X100 series. Pre-book now.
Hello, Prithvi. Welcome to Galata Plus. I just wanted to first appreciate the work you're putting in to get Hadhinelentu out on screen. It's proving to be quite a mammoth process.
I know.
It's like almost like making a movie all over again. So let's talk about like Kannada cinema in general. Are you enjoying the fact that post Kantara and KGF especially that Kannada cinema has really like become, let's say, global? Is that something that's
Well, it has started to. See, the thing is, even before Kantara, even before KGF, there were really good films in Kannada that were being made. But for whatever reason, it did not reach that level.
Yeah.
It did not reach that wider audience. But I guess after the success of these big commercial films, I guess there is a newfound interest in Kannada cinema. I think that's similar to that something like that happened for Marathi films also a few years ago. Marathi films had become kind of quiet, but then with the emergence of a few independent voices and then some big successes also, commercial successes, it came back. It caught everybody's attention.
Yeah.
I guess that's what is happening in Kannada cinema. That's a good thing, but I guess that. Should translate a little bit towards smaller films also. It should not be that kind of an exposure. I believe should not be limited to big budget or big names. Hopefully it will happen. Hopefully sooner rather than later it will happen to smaller films also. But I will tell you one thing I don't know how many people have noticed it in the last 5-6 years. Kannada films have been doing very well in the festival circuits actually.
oh.
In fact, when I took Hadhinelentu to Busan, there were 4 projects from 3 Kannada directors in Busan.
Oh.
Apart from that also, Tithi, you know about the Tithi that made a big splash in the festival circuit. There are many up and coming filmmakers, young talents who are making these great films that are reaching global audience through festivals, not necessarily through sales, but through festivals.
So there are 3 levels of films, right? One is the KGF, the Kantara, the big films.
Right.
There is one that's kind of mid-mainstream, which is like Saptasagara Dachiello, which has a sensibility, which is also a little commercial in a way, but it's not like it has a certain different kind of aesthetics. Then there is the stuff that you make, right? Like Pink Elli,
Right.
Railway Children, Alegalu, now Hadhinelentu. These films. Would you say that 80% of the interest goes to the big ones, and maybe how would you, if I ask you to be scientific and distribute the percentage of interest, how would you do it?
I wish I had the numbers with me. I don't. But it's a lot more than that, I would say. The interest of the people is a lot. I believe it's a lot more than 80%.
Okay.
But I think it's changing.
It's changing.
Changing. The only thing is there needs to be one film that has to work. One of these films, if it works, even at theatrical release, then I think the people's interest will change slightly. They will start looking at these films from a different perspective, and their interest in these films will also change. To an extent, Tithi did that actually, but afterwards it kind of slowed down. I guess now we have to push that and make our films visible to the people.
Yeah, and I think visibility is important because when I attended the Mangalore Film Festival, I saw a wonderful film, Tulu film, based on Macbeth.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, and I would have never seen it had I not gone to that festival, because it didn't come to the other festivals also. So sometimes, it's not that you don't want to see it, but you don't even know that such a movie exists, and how do you battle that, right? It's like that becomes a big thing. So
that's the challenge, isn't it? And that film, I'm trying to remember the name, Padai. Yes. It's made by a friend of mine actually. It's a very good film. I have seen the film.
Yeah, it's an excellent film.
Yeah, and I think that film actually did decently well even in cinemas. When they had the limited release in the coastal region, it did pretty well. That's a good thing. And there are actually many other films. I want to mention one name. There is a film called Photo. Have you heard of that film before? No. When you get an opportunity, watch it. It's a very beautifully made
Photo.
film. Photo, just photo. I know it sounds a lot like a Hollywood B horror film, but
No,
it's
no, no, no. I'm just to check the name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But it's a very beautifully made film, very simple film on a small budget. You should check it out when you get the opportunity. Watch it.
Right.
There are many such films, but they just don't come to the fore. What happens is they just see, for us reaching the people becomes a big challenge. I mean, until you did the round table, I don't think many people had even heard of me or my films. And some credit to a certain actress that you know others have noticed, have heard about have started to hear about my work and look it up. But that's what happens, because most of the times these things they just don't come up in the open, because even the traditional press, they are not in the same frame of mind that they used to be some 10 years ago. A lot has changed. Like, look, even now, even if you have to put up something about your film in a paper or even on TV channel, it has become slightly more commercial.
Right.
It's not that easy. So for us, that becomes a challenge. Unless you know somebody there and then take their help and get it done, you can't do that. That's why such films remain hidden, completely hidden. People don't even know that such films exist.
Right.
But when they watch it, they are okay. Such a good film, like you mentioned about Padai or Photo. People are surprised that there are such good films, but they have not even heard of those films.
When you started making these films, right, you finish New York Film Academy.
Right.
Before that, you were an IT. Let's not go there. So you finish New York Film Academy, and then you come down here.
Yeah.
Film school is a nice protected environment where everything is given to you. You and they say make your film, whatever. Your teams are taught to you. You have access to people. You have access to similar-minded whatever,
Right.
like collaborators and all that. Then you come to a film set in India, and you suddenly like. This is a very different. It's like theory and practicals.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like two entirely different things.
Yeah.
So can you tell me what were some of the learnings on Alegalu, your first film? You kind of that completely, like,
A lot actually. The number of mistakes that I made while making Alegalu is, I always say that all my films are just full of mistakes. Even these films, Hadhinelentu, Pink Elli, I look at them as mistakes only, meaning they're full of mistakes.
Yeah.
But the kind of mistakes I made in Alegalu were actually quite big. First of all, budget management. You don't know where you can save money, where you have to spend money. That comes with a little bit of experience. The other thing is, how do you work with the actors? How do you see? Sometimes, even when you make your first film, at that stage you are prepared for that. But I guess I was not. Now I know how to do that. But back then I made a lot of mistakes with the way I worked with the actors. I had such talented actors, but I guess I did not really use them properly. Even the technicians, actually, I had such good technicians working on that film. I don't think I inspired them to get their best work. These things unfortunately come with experience, or you have to talk to people who have experience and learn from them. This is something for the new, I tell to the first timers that ask people who have made films, learn from their mistakes. If they're open to talking about it, learn from their mistakes. This can save a lot of pain for you, especially when you're making your first film.
Go and talk to people who've already made films.
Who already made films, yes. If they're open to talking, not all of them are open about talking, open to talk about their own mistakes. But I am. I'm happy to talk about my mistakes. So that's one thing any first timer can do, because you don't have experience. You don't know how the real filmmaking process is. You end up making all these mistakes. So get some information from those who have experience, learn from their mistakes, and then start your work.
But are you saying mistakes in terms of, when you say budget and things like that, it's more like it's outside the script, right?
It's outside.
But are you also talking about mistakes in the script?
It's more of a management kind of a mistake, not necessarily the artistic
mistakes. Yeah.
They were also there.
Yeah.
Like I said, working with the actors, that's a part of the craft actually.
Right.
Both the part of the craft and both the part of the management. Both in these places you do mistakes, but the mistakes that you do in your craft, you will continue to do in your future films also.
Right.
It's not going to end. But the mistakes that you make in your management, at least those can be rectified, and you can manage it better in your next film.
Right.
So if you already made a few films, then you can give some inputs to those who are first timers. They can take that information and use it to at least manage their overall execution better.
I'm sorry if this is a stupid question, but isn't it easier to get a line producer or somebody who knows to do all these things? I mean, why would you?
See, when you're making an independent film,
Those-
you are the producer, you are the line producer, you are the executive producer. You are
That's why I said maybe this is a stupid question.
no,
Yeah.
it's not. But for independent filmmakers, you
Right.
are everything.
Right.
Sometimes you are the caterer, sometimes you are the driver.
Okay, all right, okay, got it. So, yeah. Hadhinelentu is the story of a Brahmin boy and a Dalit girl. They are college mates and they make a sex tape, and what happens after that? How do you form a story? Is the first thing that appears in mind Brahmin boy, Dalit girl, sex tape? Let's see what happens. Is that how you come about it, or do you?
See, this one actually evolved over 7 or 8 years. I had the idea of these these incidences of youngsters making these videos and them getting leaked is not new.
Yeah, yeah.
It's almost 10, 12 years old.
Yeah.
Since then, I had this idea in my mind. But then, how do you explore it? You have the idea of some incidents happening, and then as an aftermath, the video getting leaked.
Yeah.
That you have in your mind. But where do you take it? If you don't see, ultimately, when you are writing, for me, what I look at is, can I take it further? And how do I take it further? If I give a certain color, certain identification to those characters, will it help me to take the story further? And in a way that would give a lot of meaning to the story,
Right.
a lot of new meaning to the story, not just meaning but a new meaning. See, again, one thing is, most of the times and most of the people who have watched my trailer, they look at the Brahmin Dalit thing and they say that, okay, this is the same old, but that's not what it is.
No.
It's actually
That's just a way of entering
yeah,
the
yeah,
movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's a very well balanced film. There is no it doesn't talk about discrimination as such, in the sense that it talks about the nuances of discrimination and places where possibly there is no discrimination, but that may be conceived as a discrimination.
Yeah.
That's what it talks about, and that's where it strikes a balance actually. If it was just about one group of people oppressing other group of people, then that's an old idea.
That's black and white.
Black and white. I didn't want it to be that. I wanted it to be balanced. I wanted whether the boy or the girl or the families of the boy or the girl, all of them to have grey shades.
Yeah, that's actually one of the really good things about the film, is that there is no clear like these people are very saints and these people are sinners kind of a thing. There's like a mix of shades.
Yeah. I mean, that was the whole idea actually, because the moment you see, giving the black and white shade is actually easy.
Yeah.
But to make it grayer, you have to work hard.
Right.
You have to go back, rewrite the script. You have to think about various aspects. You have to go to the end, then go back to the beginning. That's what happens in most of my writing process. You start with an idea, it takes time to mature, and then even when you go to the end, even when you go to the last page, you come back to the first and say, okay, in the end something is not okay because it's tilting towards one of the characters. I don't want that, so I have to go back to the beginning and fix that.
Right.
So it's a long process. It's not going to be easy. It's a hard work. It's a lot of hard work, but I guess it pays off.
Right. So speaking of payment, when this long process is happening, how does an independent filmmaker sustain themselves?
See, when I say it took me 7 years, it doesn't mean that I sit and write every day for 7 years. During that time, I am also making Railway Children. I am also making Pink Elli, and I am possibly working on another script also.
Yeah.
In fact, I am possibly working on 2-3 scripts. It's just that the overall process takes 7
Long
or 8
time,
years.
yeah.
It's you're doing your work, but in parallel, this writing is going on.
Right.
In fact, for me, writing came first. Even before I took up direction, I learned direction. I began as a writer, screenwriter. So that takes precedence in my work. I believe that you have to give at least 50% of your time for writing. 50% of the effort in any film should go into writing. And then out of the other 50%, maybe 20-25% to the casting. The rest of the things becomes very easy. Once you have the script and the casting in place, the rest of it is easy. But although this process is long, you're working, you're doing other things. You're making a documentary, you're making feature films. All these things are going on. Along with that, you're doing this process, and also at a time, it's not like you're working on one script. You're working on multiple scripts. In fact, right now, if I have to make a film, I possibly have some 7 to 8 scripts in my laptop.
Right.
But I mean, sometimes you write and then you throw it away. All these things happen. But it's a process. It's a long process.
You do use the screen editing software? Or?
Yeah, I do. I use fade-in software, which is a free software. That's why I use it.
See, the whole process of independent filmmaking is also one of keeping budgets in a tight control, right? Because you don't, like, you're trying to kind of this one. So that's what I meant. So when the process is going on and stuff like that, how does if a person want, because now, like in all languages, people are increasingly looking towards festivals.
Right.
At least there is one like, let's say there are 100 new filmmakers who come every year. At least 10 of them are saying, I don't want to make this kind of film, I want to make this kind of film. Right. So there's an increasing number because of more exposure to festivals and things like that. So I'm saying, how does the concept of, let's say, a monthly salary or a living income, how does that come into play? Is it through the producers, or how does it?
Well, there is no monthly income.
Right.
You have to manage your money. That's
Right.
it. How do you manage it is up to you.
Yeah.
Some people may have a parallel business, others may struggle.
Right.
But it's completely up to you. And there is no way of giving a clear-cut direction to anybody regarding this.
Right.
Because everybody's struggle, everybody's resources are different.
Right.
So you just have to manage. There is no other way to put it simply.
Right. So what you're saying is the director's salary that you get for a movie has to be distributed, or you have to kind of make do with it till the next director's salary comes along. That's
exactly.
It's pretty much like the mainstream film industry,
It
except
is
that
only
the proportion is
the amount is less.
Yeah.
It's vastly smaller compared to a mainstream film director.
Right.
So you just have to manage it better and wisely.
Yeah, I was just wondering because some people go off and do ads, those kinds of things, whether you do those kinds of.
No, I have made a few documentaries also. While I make films, I make some documentaries for various NGOs and other things. So that works out a little bit. But otherwise, you have to manage your resources and money. There is no other way to put it.
But you have always wanted to operate in this independent/festival space. Is that?
No, not really. Not really. See, I like I have said before, I started off as a writer for a Hollywood project. Meaning it was a spec script that got optioned for a Hollywood film. That never happened, by the way. But that would have been had it happened, it would have been a good mid-budget horror film. So I started off with a commercial script only. But then I realized that for my way of working and for my way of thinking and for the resources that I had, a commercial cinema, a big budget film is not suitable for me to make at this stage.
Right.
Maybe in the future, if I have the right script, the right people, the right budget, I might do it.
Right.
It's not that I don't have the script. I have the script, but I still have to do some rights and fix it. But if everything falls in place, it's definitely doable. I don't have anything against commercial cinema. I like commercial cinema just as much as you or the next person. The only thing that I don't like in any film, whether commercial or parallel, is the manipulative nature of films. That's all. If it is not manipulative, I don't care. I like all genres of films also, as long as it's not manipulative.
Because of my way of thinking, my way of operating, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about the space where I am in.
Okay.
If I go to somebody and say that, look, I want to make a film, give me 50 crores, it's not going to happen.
Right.
Maybe when that time comes, when I know that I'm in the company of the right people and I have the right script and I have the right talent attached, definitely it's doable.
Right.
But right now it's just not that time for me.
Right. Can you tell me about some of the directors, Indian and international, who have influenced you and your work, and also why you're picking these names?
See, one director that I have also worked with is Girish Kasarwadi. I worked with him as an assistant for his film Gulabi Takis. I love his films. In fact, in my opinion, he is probably one of the best Indian directors ever. And probably, to me, at least personally, he is the best Kannada director. If you watch his films, see, apart from the writing and the way he works with the actors, the best part for me is how he composes the shots. See, today when we make films, it's all about cuts. You take a short cut, take a short cut, but that's not the way he used to compose. And having worked with him, he would take a shot in just a few takes, like 2-3 takes, not more than that. Because he used to make films in actual films, he couldn't take more than that. He couldn't afford to take more than that. So he would be well prepared in his mind. He was very sure of what he was going to do. He knew that this is the shot I wanted, and he would be completely prepared for that, and he would do it.
Right.
And the result would be amazing, actually, on screen. In fact, some of his films are available on YouTube. If you, I'm sure
I've
you have
seen
seen. Yeah, you
places,
have seen. I'm
yeah,
sure. For those who have not seen it, I request them to watch those films. They're actually very beautiful films. I like his films, and of course, Satyajit Ray is like teacher for everybody, all Indian filmmakers.
Any particular film?
I can't take a particular name. All of his films, even Kasarwadi's films, like that, for that matter, all his films, I like them. And I'm particularly influenced by Iranian films.
Right.
I mean, for almost 30-40 years, they have been making these amazing films. See, one thing that I noticed, if you compare the best of Indian cinema with the best of Iranian cinema, for some reason, the ideas that they are exploring are way ahead of their times. And consider the fact that they are living in an extremely conservative society, where even thinking beyond a certain box is not allowed.
Right.
But they are doing that in such a country, and I don't know how do they do it. The writing, the performances that they get. Maybe I'll have to go there and sit with somebody, watch a shoot exactly, and then learn something. But they do it extraordinarily. And so one day I hope I will be able to do a film like that. But I am very much influenced and inspired by those films.
Right. I actually think when I saw Hadhinelentu, it reminded me partly of Asghar Farhadi's work. That's what I think I wrote in my review.
I'm not surprised.
You adore his work?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because there is a certain...
I learned a lot. See, from one thing that I learned from his films is how do you keep this balance? How do you keep a film extremely realistic, rooted, and yet very thrilling?
Very nail-biting.
Yeah, very nail-biting.
Yeah.
They're very realistic, but so thrilling. I mean, you can't take your eyes off the screen.
Yeah.
I don't think I have accomplished that kind of a result. I know that, but hopefully one day I strive to get there someday.
Yeah, I actually, two recent films reminded me of Farhadi's sensibility, not necessarily his films. One is your Hadhinelentu, and the other one is a Malayalam film called Atam,
Okay.
which again was in a very similar zone, a very realistic zone, and then it becomes almost like a whodunit kind of a thing, and it's all dialogue driven because that's the Farhadi style, right? It's like it's extensively driven by dialogues, and the dialogues themselves become set pieces. It's not like the dialogues, the way they're staged, that itself becomes a kind of a set piece, and I kind of sense that in your film and in that film, and it's like really thrilling because, like you say, you hear these the superficial story. Brahmin boy, Dalit girl, sex tape, and you think this is what the narrative is, but actually you're taking these elements and then taking the story somewhere else, which is kind of what the thing is. But is there some anger in you that wants to point out to society that these are the things I'm angry about? I know you make fairly calm films in the sense that they're not overtly, pointing a finger at anything, but you're just laying out the facts. But is there somebody inside that's...
I guess we all have some anger in ourselves. about the things that are happening in society. Just that maybe I express it through my films. And if you
So that
express
anger is there in your films.
in me, maybe not in my films. I am of the belief that everybody has anger about one or the other things in the society.
Right.
That's definitely there. But then it should not come out in your films. Your film should be so balanced and so level-headed and so rooted that it should compel the people to think in that direction.
Right.
It shouldn't be put in their faces and say, and we shouldn't say that, look, this is what it is. No, just look at these things and see what what this narrative, what this story inspires you to think.
Yeah.
I think that's what I learned from Iranian films actually, and you don't have to do it in a boring way. To do that,
Yeah.
you can keep your story very gripping, to the point, yet extremely rooted, very simple, with some extraordinary performances. You can do that. It's possible. But like I said, I am not there yet. Hopefully one day I will get there.
Right. So how has the Kannada independent scene changed from the time you entered it with Alegalu?
One big change that I have seen in independent films is that some of the big producers are supporting such films, which is a good thing.
Right.
Which was not happening before, 5, 6 years ago. It was not a part of the scene. But right now there are these big names who are actually supporting and producing such films, which is a very good development. That should continue. That has been happening in other languages. But for Kannada, that's a new actually. And in Hindi, actually, people like Anurag Kashyap have supported a lot of independent films, which is why probably he is like a superhero for a lot of independent filmmakers. But in Kannada, that was not a part of the scene. But I guess it's beginning to happen now, and hopefully it will grow in numbers. That means it will reach more people. That means good results.
Yeah. Why do you work with non-established actors, and how do you make them ready for the camera? What is the process of working with them?
See, working with non-established actors is not necessarily a requirement for me. It's just
I mean,
that
you do have certain known faces, but
some known
mainly the
faces, yes,
leads
yes.
are, or they are fairly.
Yeah. See, what happens is sometimes there are those really good actors who are well known. You can't afford them, to put it simply. The other thing is when somebody has made a number of films and has a certain, fan following and a certain image, whatever you want to call it as, the image, you can't convince an audience that it's the character. The actor always shows up in the character. I don't want that. To avoid that, you go for the people on the streets.
Okay.
And also, honestly, I believe that opportunity should be like open. When I did auditions for Hadhinelentu, it was during the lockdown. It was an open audition. I did the same for Pink Elli, Railway Children. For Railway Children, I went to schools. For Pink Elli, I went to slums and other places. For Hadhinelentu, because it was the lockdown, everything was done through video. It was done online, and everybody did the video auditions at their homes and sent the videos to me, and that's how they were selected. In fact, apart from one or two actors, I had never met the other actors who were basically non-actors, first timers. I had not even heard of them. I met them on the first day when we sat for rehearsals. So that's the answer for the second part of your question. How do you prep them? I do rehearsals. Even before I go into the shoot, I do rehearsals for 10 days, 15 days, 20 days, which is very, very important.
You take them to the whole script.
Pretty much. Some extremely emotional scenes, I try not to do that in the rehearsals, because I feel that will kind of it won't do justice when you do the actual take. You have to leave it to the actual take and don't do rehearsal for that. I might do that also, provided I feel that okay, this requires some preparation. But otherwise, if I feel that okay, he is prepared enough and he is possibly capable of doing that emotional scene, then I will just explain it that this is what we have to do, and I will end it. But otherwise, almost the entire script is rehearsed even before we go into the shoot. See, we have to cut down the cost. That is another big factor. To make a film like mine, and it's a 2-hour film, it's not a very short 1.5 hour film. For a 2-hour film, you need to shoot for at least 35 to 40 days if you don't have rehearsals. So with rehearsals, the overall shooting days comes down drastically. That means overall cost of the film comes down. So it's a necessity actually. Preparing the, getting the actors, getting the non-actors, actors, and then preparing them. It's a necessity.
Have you ever approached stars to either act or present your films?
I have done that. Done even for Hadhinelentu, there was the possibility of a well-known name in Kannada to have presented the film, but that didn't happen for whatever reason. We see people have their own calculations, their own ideas. And one more thing is, in films, it's always very dynamic. The thought I have today, I may not have tomorrow. So you can't expect someone to be committed to a film, with so much of intensity. There was this possibility, but that didn't happen. So now we are releasing the film on our own. But I have approached a few people, and some people have liked the film and they wanted to present it. But then it's on us. Right now, it's on us to release the film.
Right, and that's where the crowdsourcing, crowdfunding comes in. So now, when you're doing this crowdfunding, you also did it for Railway Children.
Yes.
Right. Are you able to
see? I'll tell you. For Railway Children, we did the crowdfunding to make the film, not for the release and distribution. That almost did not gain any traction because we were not known back then, and we had no credibility.
Right.
But right now it has gained good traction, and I believe that by the time we release the film on 26th of January, we would have reached a decent amount of tickets through this crowdfunding. I am very confident of that.
Right.
And by the way, thanks to you, after the round table, it has gained a lot of traction.
Oh, nice. Something useful that I did. Okay. This factor that so the producer is somebody else, just to get it out into the market. So why is it important for you to push this into the mainstream theaters?
Actually, I don't want my films to go into regular cinema halls. I want them on OTTs and TV channels.
Right.
And I know that there is a huge audience who are waiting to watch such films on OTTs and TVs. But unfortunately for us, TV channels are closed. They are not taking such films in Kannada.
Was there a time that they used to?
Oh yeah, they used to.
Okay.
They used to take such films back, even few years ago, they used to take that. But now they are not. Now OTTs are still open to such films, but they require our films to go through the process of theatrical release. Now there is a reason for that also, which I understand. I don't completely agree, but I understand. That is that they want these films to gain some attention, through the press, through people, through social media and everywhere. So when it finally reaches the OTT, there is an audience who is ready to watch such films and who has heard of the film, and he is ready to watch the film. So I guess that's the idea behind this rule that go through this theatrical release and then come back to OTTs. But ideally, these films are, I think that they're good for OTTs. People who are subscribed to OTTs, they will watch such films in big numbers. I'm confident of that.
Right.
But unfortunately, we have to go through this whole process.
You want your films to be seen on OTT.
Yes. See, ultimately,
but you want to, you have to release them in theaters so that you can get it into OTT.
Ultimately, it's not a question of OTTs, TVs, anything. It's just that you want your films to be seen by the people. Ultimately, that's the goal of any film. Nobody makes a film just for the sake of awards or festivals.
Right.
You want people to watch your films. But for that, for us, what we have is OTT.
Yeah.
But then this is the process.
This is the process.
But then again, it's one thing to release the film in cinema halls, but then another thing to get the people to the cinema halls. And that's the reason why we have all this crowdfunding and doing all the circus that we have to do.
Right. So this, at least if they buy the tickets, then they're coming to the halls. There's an audience that's kind of being built.
Yeah. See, and actually, going further for independent films, small budget films like these, I think we should go for crowdfunding only. More and more people come together and make such films. The burden should not be on one producer or one or two people. It should, you have to mitigate the risk by dividing the budget of the film. In fact, the more people get involved at the initial stage, the lesser the risk, and everybody is happy. See, most people who come and work in such films, invest in such films, they don't do it for the sake of money only. Very few people look at money. They have other intentions. They want to make good films.
Yeah.
Or some people want to support a particular language films. There are other, a lot of motivations. So I feel that even at the beginning, at the production itself, more and more people should come together. If possible, you can sell the tickets at the beginning itself. That's an idea. It's not going to be easy. Sell the tickets in the beginning itself, get so many people to just invest 500 rupees, 1000 rupees. I think that's the way to go, going further regarding such films. The budget, where the budget is very constrained. Of course, big budget, they have their own equations. So that's why, this whole thing, the crowdfunding, getting the people to the cinema halls, making it a success, and then taking it to the OTTs.
Right, but I think there's one more interesting thing that may play, because if I'm giving X amount of money, I'm somewhat emotionally involved with the production.
Yes.
Whereas if I'm just a passive person, I might say, okay, I don't know if I want to see this movie in theaters or not. I don't know. Like,
No, exactly.
Yeah.
See, our films don't promise a big canvas or that kind of a theatrical experience. What it promises is good story, good content, good film, and there is an audience for that. But they are not very committed audience.
Yeah.
They are not. You don't have a huge fan following who will throng theaters on day one. They take their own sweet time to come to cinema halls, that too after hearing about the film 5 times, 10 times. But we don't have that luxury. We have 3 days. You have Friday, Saturday and Sunday, Monday it's gone. So unless you are able to get people on the first 3 days, it cannot go, the film will not survive on Monday. But then the people who are coming on Friday, Saturday and Sunday are not organic. It's not going to continue for Monday.
Yeah.
If you are going to bring your own people buy the tickets, it's not going to work. People have to come organically. They have to spread the word among their friends, and they should come on Monday. That's the only way it has to work. And hopefully this whole crowdfunding, our hope is that we will get enough audience for the first week.
Yeah.
That happens, then the film will go into the second week. And because a lot of these people who are buying tickets are organic, they will spread the word. It will reach other people.
Yeah. If you were to make a pitch to the general public that is not bought tickets or not part of this process, to answer the question, why should you watch Hadhinelentu? How would you pitch it?
Well, I would say watch Hadhinelentu for all the mistakes I have made. No,
That's not good.
Jokes apart.
Yeah.
See, all I'm going to promise you is an original film with authenticity. You will be engaged for 2 hours. That's all I'm going to promise you. I'm not going to promise you a message. If you take a message out of it, consider it as a bonus. I promise you an engaging story with good performances that will keep you hooked for 2 hours. A good film. Basically, by the very definition of a film, it's a good film.
Okay.
Authenticity, originality, and good story.
That's the key selling point.
I can't go beyond that. I can't claim stars. I can't claim,
Right.
That's all I have to offer.
Right. But so that's great, and I wish you all the best for the 26th, 27th, and the 28th, which are the 3 crucial dates for you to take the film.
No, it should go beyond that.
Which are the 3 crucial days to take the film to the weekdays,
next day, right.
to the next week and all that. So thank you, Prithvi, and all the best.
Thanks to you. Actually, I have to thank you. See, you invited me for the round table, and then you said we will do an interview. I'm just thankful that I'm here and talking to you and taking this word to the people.
Yeah, no, see, the thing is that the pleasure is mutual, because see, I talk to mainstream stars and directors most of the time, and it's difficult to get into crack this independent space. And I know of you because, somebody, like I was it's all a strange coincidence, because I was at Mami programming festivals there, films there when Railway Children happened. And I was like, oh my God, who's made this movie? And then, okay, then I'm following you, and I'm seeing Pink Elli. And then I'm actually watching Hadhinelentu I'm asking you for a link. And so had I not been at the festival, I might not know because it's physically impossible to know every filmmaker in who even the good ones you sometimes miss out, right? Because it's just such a like the volumes of consumption has become so much now. So yeah, I mean I'm glad that you know I think when you find a distinctive voice and a really good filmmaker, and I know the word good is subjective, but when you find somebody who's really making very interesting and engaging films, you want to do whatever little to kind of throw your weight behind them and say, okay, like let's support them. So that's all this is, and I think if we don't do this, then we shouldn't be doing this job. So
No, that's easy to say, but you are doing it actually. So thank you.
thank you.
GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.
Experience the next level of imaging with Vivo X100 series. Pre-book now.